good evening to all you podcast listeners out there in podcast listening land, and welcome to another Regency episode of Who Corner to Corner podcast. Indeed, 'tis I, Sir Paul, and I'm here with the good Lord Jeff. How are you this weekend, Jeff? Are you sumptuously engaging in sumptuous weather preparations?
I don't know what sumptuous weather preparations.
I don't know.
Have I put sun cream on? No.
This rubbish just came out of my mouth. It wasn't going to be like that, but that's what it is. Hello, people across the universe, and welcome to another Who Corner to Corner. 'Tis I, Paul, and I'm here with Jeff. As you know, it's always going to be us. Freya was going to join us tonight, but she's watching Casualty instead. So
Right.
So there you go. So yes, anyway, so this episode we are going to be talking about Doctor Who Rogue, the latest episode in Series 1, featuring Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson as Ruby Sunday. Yep, and well, I mean, there we go. So in this episode, the Doctor and Ruby decide to go to Regency, England, Bath, no less, just on the corner of yours truly.
Yes, that's
or
what
is
I
it
thought,
Bath? Or is it some kind of fictitious kind of portrayal of Bath? Is it actually Bridgerton, another town that begins with B? I don't know anymore. I don't know what's going on, frankly. But either way, it's a whole bunch of weird bird-like shape-shifting aliens who just wanted to cosplay their way through history. So whilst I kind of process all the weirdness of this, I'm going to throw it over to my colleague Jeff and say, "Hi, Jeff, what did you make of this, me old chum?"
I thought, I don't know what to make of this one.
He doesn't know what to make of this one.
I don't. Ncuti was excellent as always.
Fabulous.
He got to have a lot of fun in this one, and it was a bit. I was going to say it was a bit lighter than the last 2 weeks, where we've been sort of dealing with heavy topics and spooky politics and stuff. But then, yes, it turned that there is a twist at the end. So I thought everything looked great in this episode. I liked all the costumes and things, and I liked the what they call the chulder, the bird,
chulder,
something like that, the bird type,
the deadly birds,
aliens who were shape-shifting and purely basically cosplaying as different people. I couldn't quite tell whether that was slightly taking the mick out of cosplay or trying to homage it. Well, I saw a few people online. Yeah, I saw a few people online saying, why would they pick that as the villain's MO when it was...
Generally, the production of Doctor Who love their cosplayers, don't they?
Well, that's what I thought. So it would be a bit off to bite the hand that feeds you like that. Yeah. But I did quite like when a bit later when they did they say something about they'd seen TV signals and stuff, and they came here to sort of basically live reenact Bridgerton and do an immersive theatre version of it and cosplay it. So I thought that was quite good. It was quite sort of meta commentary in a way, and it reminded me a little bit of a Big Finish audio that Tennant was in, which was I think Infamy of the Zaros it was called, and it starts out with this. If you haven't listened to that audio, I would skip ahead 30 seconds or so. But
I haven't listened to it. Can I skip ahead?
You can, yeah, but I'll just continue talking.
I'm probably not going to listen to it, to be honest. Either,
I must say, it is very good, but it starts out with this alien invasion, and then something happens, and they're like, oh no, hang on, we need to redo that again. Okay, let's rewind. Can you say that line again? And it turns out the invasion is part of scripted reality TV for this alien race, and suddenly it becomes really kind of it's very RTD type of...
Very clever, was it?
Yeah, it was very clever. So I really enjoyed that, and this kind of reminded me a little bit of that. So if you've now skipped ahead, you'll be back here, and we're talking about...
Wow, that was amazing.
So
everything you just said there in the last 30 seconds was amazing.
I mean,
wow.
that is the key to life, though, isn't it? You know. So yeah, I liked that kind of element of it. So as for Rogue, and I suppose there was a little bit of deception here because the episode was called Rogue, and I don't know of anyone who actually kind of twigged that was going to be Jonathan Groff's name
of the character.
And I suppose Rogue, you know, Rogue and a dandy and a cad and all that kind of thing, you know, it sort of you know, was quite appropriate for that sort of thing.
Still quite well, didn't it?
Yeah,
the sort of vibe of the episode.
Yeah, I thought Groff was good. I couldn't help but thinking about Kristoff the whole time from Frozen. I thought he was quite a serious sort of character in a way. And you know, the Doctor was really quite kind of you know, loving life in this one for parts of it anyway, of course. But it was sort of a deliberate contrast between them, I guess. And yeah, I thought he was really good, and it's obviously been left open for him to return, which is quite interesting. And I particularly liked. I always get a bit of a thrill when you see past Doctors and stuff. And
yes. That was fun.
It was really nicely done, and it was good. And Joe was there, and of course Richard E. Grant has broken the internet, you know, by him appearing for a new photo shoot apparently. So that makes me wonder.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, why on earth would Richard E. Grant go in and have his photo taken? Just well, I suppose in fairness, the two ladies who wrote it were in charge of Loki when he was in it, so maybe they pulled a bit of a favour. Yeah. So maybe I'm reading a bit too much into it. Perhaps he just took it in his kitchen or something, you know.
His dressing room.
Yeah, but maybe he'll return again. So that was really fun to do that. And this series reminds me a little bit of Series 11 with Jodie, and that, and also really in Eccleston Tennant's early seasons, where, you know, not much of the history of the Doctor and stuff has been elaborated upon. And
I don't know. We've had a fair bit of it already, though.
Well, there's been stuff about it, you know, him being a Time Lord and things, but it was just the first sort of mention of, you know, past selves and stuff like that. And does Ruby know about regeneration? I can't remember.
No, possibly. I think you're right from that perspective.
Yeah. So I did like that bit with the all the Doctors appearing. I thought it was nicely done. And I kind of felt that Ruby was a little bit wasted in this episode. Didn't do much until later. Well, I was like, oh, okay, well that's good now. I quite like that she used the previous throwaway reference to combat earplugs or whatever it was, and then got in a sort
earrings. Were they?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and then there was
some kind of MacGuffin anyway.
Crouching dragon, hidden tiger type, you know, movement in her scrap. Were you surprised that was it Emily that she ended up being a Chulda? The girl, yeah, the girl that she ended up fighting.
Yes, she did. She did end up fighting.
I'm gonna you so much you forgot.
John, I'm not going to lie. I've only seen this story once.
I've only seen it once.
Freya and I sat through and watched it last night. So it's not fully embedded down into my spongy grey brain matter just yet. So, but yes. Now you mention it, you're right. She was a bird creature, wasn't she? No, yeah. I'm not going to lie. I wasn't surprised by any of this at all. I thought. Again, I've seen a lot of stuff on the internet since, because as soon as I watch an episode, I'll jump online, I'll see what the chatter is, and I was quite surprised to see that everybody seemed to watch a different episode to me, because I thought. It's not that I didn't enjoy it. I just thought it was kind of it was all right. You know, I was kind of chuckling through it, and like you said, initially I thought it was just kind of a light-hearted romp, and I absolutely loved the chemistry between Rogue and the Doctor. I thought, right from the off, it was crackling, it was fierce, it was on screen. Do you know what I mean? The first time they looked at each other, I thought, oh my goodness, you get the goosebumps going up your back. This is brilliant. I love that. But this is the story I think I was probably least looking forward to, and I'll tell you for why. I mean, well, I'm going to ask you a question actually before I do that. Is, have you ever seen an episode of Bridgerton?
No.
No. Okay. For those who love it, they love it utterly. I've only seen a few clips of Bridgerton, and I can describe it in one word, two words actually. Sheer porno. That's it. Or Regency porno, right? I kid you not, right? So my eldest daughter, right? She watches. She's addicted to Bridgerton.
And what channel was this on?
She loves it. It's like Netflix or one of those. Anyway, right? So she goes to university. It's my eldest, right? So she's coming up to 20, and she's been staying home, sort of half term and stuff like that. And she's home now. She's finished a year. And I kid you not, right? So I went downstairs, made my breakfast and everything else. I know where she's watching the telly in the front room. So I take my breakfast, go and sit in the front room. The first thing I see is mounds of flesh, right? Literally humping each other. And I'm like, it's like 8:15 in the morning. She's just sat there on her phone. Hi, Dad, you're right. Eating her cereal, because that's how kids watch TV now. They'll be on their phone while they're watching it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you watching? What is this?
Get that out
And
of
she
my
goes,
house.
she sort of looks up. She goes, oh, yeah, it's Bridgerton. And I'm like, they're humping each other on their telly right now. And it's only 8:15 in the morning.
Where's the watershed?
So whatever.
Yeah.
Well, internet telly, you can watch it anytime, can't you? Really? And I'm like, and I kind of stick around to watch a bit.
Yeah.
And it's like, and once all the humping had finished, then they get on with all the other nonsense, and and I thought, this is awful. It's just not my cup of tea. That's the thing. It's like everything I hate. But hold on, it's everything I hate about somebody's idea of what it was like in high society in the Regency period. It's like, it's kind of like, it's like Jane Austen through a modern lens.
Yes,
so nobody really looks perhaps how they would have looked then. And I guess that's probably the thing with all these things. They look very 21st century. They play modern. They're all on the violins, these string quartets and little groups of. All the music is modern music.
Yeah,
but play with the old instruments, which I don't say they've done in this episode as well. So, and actually, as far as I could tell, this was Bridgerton with Doctor Who. It's almost like, I tell you what it felt to me. It would almost be like if Doctor Who suddenly materialised in the middle of Albert Square and partook in an episode of EastEnders. Wait, that actually has happened.
Yeah.
There you go. It's the same kind of thing, you know. And I kind of looked at it once I started watching with it. I kind of enjoyed it, but there's a part of me thinking right at the back of my mind that this is not my favourite kind of Doctor Who. But of course, the great thing about Doctor Who is that it can tell all kinds of stories.
Well, it can, yeah, and
in that way can appeal to a much wider audience than something which only focuses on, say, hardcore sci-fi.
Yes,
which is my favourite kind of stuff, or
that's one of the
high fantasy and stuff.
And that's one of the beauties of the show, is that it can push itself like that. And I've not watched Bridgerton, and I know it's
you're not missing very much, at least in my opinion. Other people would be howling, saying, "Dale, Bridgerton is fantastic."
But that's the thing, isn't it?
Brilliant, the best thing since sliced bread.
We all like different things, but I know it's a Shondaland show, a Shonda Rhimes thing, and I started watching
literally porno.
Well, I started watching Grey's Anatomy from the start. My wife loves Grey's, and I was quite surprised at the amount of fornication that was going on in that. And
have you strapping in mind? You watch it telly without anybody getting the kit off.
That's not being prudish, but I said to her after a little while, I was like, "Do they do any doctoring in this? Because they're just shacking all the time." So I guess Bridgerton is maybe that sort of thing in a different era. Hopefully, it's got someone more interesting than Meredith Grey in it, but there we go. But I think probably, and the show, who should take risks and try things and stuff. And I possibly might have got more out of this if I had, understood Bridgerton, had seen Bridgerton. Or
I don't know. I mean, you and I, Jeff, are not target audience for Bridgerton. To be honest,
no, we're not.
My daughter is. I mean, Freya won't watch it. She I mean, I don't think I think she's quite ambivalent towards it. Actually, I thought she did, and she goes, "No, I've never watched Bridgerton."
Right.
But I know her older sister will, and all her student buddies
and
will literally kind of binge through it. You know,
if Lucy watched this one, she might like it. And I think I have nothing, no problem with the era or that sort of setting. So maybe
it's not my favourite. The only Regency period drama that I really like is probably Blackadder the Third. That's about it. And and there was another thing actually recently, the Ridley Scott thing, which focused on Mad King George and the American War of Independence and stuff like that. Or it was all from a hardcore kind of brutal. I forgot what that was called now, but that was
Napoleon.
No, it wasn't that. But that was quite good. But that was as far away, and I think part of it as well is because when I was at uni, I had to read Jane Austen. And I just didn't get on with it. It's just not for me at all. It's just, I couldn't, I literally, I've read a lot of stuff in my life and a lot of stuff I've had to read because, studied literature and stuff like that. But Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice, I think I struggled through Northanger Abbey. And Emma, oh my goodness, it was awful. And that sort of stuff is like the template for stuff like Bridgerton, and then Bridgerton, because it's so popular, perhaps Russell's like, yeah, come on, let's get it in. Doctor Who, be a hoot, and it's great because it probably pulls in a whole new audience of people who love all that,
and people have really responded well to it, and I think you're right. We are probably not the target audience for it, and I sort of feel like the show.
Where's me pipe?
The show can't, and I shouldn't expect it to 100% appeal to me every week.
Absolutely.
Because it pushes its creative options so much from week to week. And if I watched Bridgerton, I'd have enjoyed it more, I think.
Maybe.
But yes, I've seen a lot of, really positive comments online. I believe we've got a few voice notes from some of our listeners. If you'd like to bring those up, I will also load up the Twitter stuff as well.
Yes. Okay. So this is from George. Let's have a listen to what George has to say.
Hi guys, it's George Cairns here from France. I'm here for the D-Day celebrations, but I had to subscribe to Disney Plus to watch Doctor Who. I couldn't wait till I got back to the UK, and I watched the whole episode of Rogue with a massive smile on my face. It was a fantastic episode. I really enjoyed it, and I'll be watching it again a good few times, I think. It was also interesting to see David Charles playing the vicar and getting killed horribly because he's an actor that I've met a couple of times. So, it's nice to see him get a credit at the end as well. So all in all, that's one of the best episodes of the season for me, and I'll be enjoying listening to your opinions on it as well. As always, take care.
Take care, George, and thank you for the voice notes.
Yeah, all the way from France as well. Love it.
Indeed, yeah. Glad to hear that you enjoyed it. Let's see what Morgan has to say.
Hello, Paul and Jeff.
Hello, Morgan.
I'm so happy to be able to have this opportunity once again to say my thoughts on an episode. I thought Rogue was absolutely incredible. I loved Rogue and how he saved Ruby's life, even though he was a bounty hunter. The whole cosplaying villains was brilliantly done, and I think this was my favourite episode of this series. Also, I loved the hologram scene showing every incarnation of the Doctor. Even featuring the Richard E. Grant incarnation from Scream of the Shelker, which I thought that was an absolutely brilliant touch.
Brilliant. Thank you, Morgan. Yes, somebody also enjoyed it. Go on.
Yeah, and also as Morgan was lukewarm on stuff before a little bit, it's nice to see that this appealed hugely to him, so that's really good.
Yeah, it's sort of something for everybody in this series, I think. Let's hear what Ian Banks has to say.
Hello, chaps. Ian Banks here again.
Hi, Ian.
Rogue. I didn't enjoy that as much as last week's, but it was still a lot of fun. Groff was fantastic as Rogue. In fact, all the guest stars were pretty good on this one. The idea of killer birds being being fans of cosplay is an interesting one, and I just don't quite think the birds were quite realised effectively. But you know what? I live in Australia, and we've got a few killer birds here, so that could just be my own personal bias showing here. That said, the idea of people taking over other people's forms for cosplay purposes is pretty damn fantastic, actually. In other news, I thought all the guest actors were terrific. Ruby and the Doctor were excellent as usual. It was a lot of fun. I just don't think it hit the heights that we've had over the last couple of weeks. All right, see you later.
See you later, Ian, and thank you for your voice note, mate.
I find it endlessly fascinating how we can all watch the same thing and interpret it completely differently.
Come out with something really different. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting point there about the birds. I mean, I kind of like the birds, although it did strike me at the time as being something very Russell T Davies.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It was like, the fact we got a family of people as well, like the Slitheen. And I think also, although I don't think we've seen birds before, not since Vengeance on Varos, when people were mutated into birds like Perry and
there was
one of the other guest cast.
vulture creatures in the
Sarah Jane Adventures.
Sarah Jane,
but they actually gone.
No, he takes recognisable creatures like slugs and aliens them up and stuff, which I think is I get it. It's the way Moffat takes kind of playground games in some ways and turns them into scary stuff
Horrors.
For the show. Yeah.
But it also put me in mind of who are those little spiky guys in Voyage of the Damned and Last of the Time Lords. Last of the Time Lord, was it Last of the Time? No, not Last of the Time Lords. End of Time.
Yeah, Bannercaphylacta and something else.
The green spiky dudes in. Those kind of put me in mind of those a little bit, though.
Yeah.
Those were clearly birds, but they were shapeshifters. Finally, we've got a note from Chris, so let's just hear what Chris has got. And I wonder if there's bird song. There is.
Good morning, Two Corners Corner. You find me once again strolling around a Regency garden. Chris here, by the way. And I shit you not, I have just seen a giant bloody owl fly across the path in front of me. And it's somewhere off in the background screeching at the smaller birds, which is thematically appropriate, isn't it? But it's not putting me off Rogue, despite me being fucking shit scared for a second there, because I thought it was going to get me. But it didn't.
Cosplay you.
Into the bushes. And sadly, there wasn't a handsome man jumping out of them to give me a kiss either. Which brings me back to Rogue, because I loved it. I'm getting full-on Girl in the Fireplace vibes.
Yes.
Like I alluded to last time, this is what I want from Doctor Who. Wasn't born selfishly for the classic era, apart from a little bit of Sylvester McCoy, but I was, too busy being illiterate to properly appreciate what it was at the time.
Sounds like
so,
you, Jeff.
This to me really is what Doctor Who is, and it's the sort of thing that I feel like has been missing from the last couple of eras. And I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but give me more sexy relationships, basically. So that's my thoughts. Good morning to you, Paul. I was really, really pleased to hear your thoughts on the episode last time out, and looking forward to hearing what you've got to say this time as well. And I presume Jeff will also say something.
There you go. Although, actually, Chris, you might not be quite so pleased with what I've said so far in this episode, but, I did kind of chuckle along with it. And I think for me, and it was the same for Freya as well, actually, towards the end of it, I think it started to fall a little bit down. I kind of felt a little bit cheated that when Ruby overcame her situation in the library, we didn't see that until it was in flashback, so we were kind of misled as an audience, which is fine. I kind of get it. We don't know whether she's going to be saved. And I thought also right at the end, when the Doctor when Rogue falls through the trap along with the bird people, and the Doctor's immediately like, we can't go and rescue him, we can't find him, there are so many dimensions. And I'm thinking, well, the first place, that's right, he said he don't even know what his actual name is. And I'm kind of thinking, well, just look in his ship. The ship belonged to him. There's meant to be something in there. That's a good starting point, at least. And if the Doctor really wanted to find somebody, they could find them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like it's almost felt to me like they were inventing a kind of they were inventing a problem just to leave it on a cliffhanger. Will Rogue return or will Rogue not? And and I was getting serious Captain Jack vibes from Rogue as well. I thought, again, it's another Russell T Davies thing, and I know this episode wasn't written by Russell, but nonetheless, I've got a feeling he probably
of course he's involved.
Gave him a lot of ingredients.
Yeah, it's not like the guest writers just come along on the show and just do what they want. There'll be mandates.
They're writing to a brief, aren't they?
Yeah, like, or pitching ideas and then one gets picked and stuff, I was just going to say I'm going to destroy Chris next time we play Magic the Gathering.
Don't be too harsh. I like Chris. Chris is my mate now. We're buddies.
So before we go, I'm just going to read a few comments from Twitter. So there is hold on. So Greg Cox says, I wasn't that impressed with it, to be honest. It was another family thing, like the Slitheen and Family of Blood, like you just mentioned. Maybe one for Bridgerton fans. Rick Eads says, I'm a fan since the 70s, and that is one of my all-time favourite episodes, which is great to hear. Rich Harmon says, the best episode of a very strong series. Can't wait for the finale. Matt Price says, both underwhelmed and heartwarmed simultaneously. So many amazing elements that made me smile, but the script felt a little rusty and undone in areas. I don't know why I'm feeling so mixed, though. I wanted to love it. So confused, and I hate it. You know what, Matt? I get that. If you've listened, you might have sensed that a little bit with me. I've enjoyed things, but there's been a few bits like, and it's just not fully done it, and when I see like the love for Rogue, and I'm thinking, why did it not quite click for me? Maybe it was the Bridgerton thing, maybe it was the whole period setting, and maybe I didn't like the shoulders that much, and there could be any number of things really, but I it was good. It just didn't click for me.
It was, and, it was nicely made, nicely plotted, at least for me, until the end. But I think also just thinking about it there, whilst the relationship I thought was pretty good, I get the point that it did feel perhaps a little bit rushed, and I kind of liked it to a degree, because I thought the Doctor was kind of role playing. I thought he was getting into the whole swing of these kind of scandalous relationships and kind of leading Rogue on a little bit.
Yeah.
And then there was that moment when Rogue kind of proposed to him, wasn't it, after they'd done the dance?
Yes.
And you think, okay, well, did Rogue actually mean it? Is he actually now really genuinely falling for the Doctor? And as a joke, the Doctor actually genuinely falling for him as well. Did this start off as a little bit of a kind of a sort of jokey, flirty thing, and now it's come serious, and the Doctor can't handle it? And I like that aspect of the Doctor, the fact that the Doctor can't get that involved, but somehow in this one seemed quite happy to sort of pull Rogue along and sort of play with his feelings a little bit, which kind of makes me think now he really has to go out and find him. He kind of owes it to Rogue to do that, so I like that, but also, and it does remind me of Girl in the Fireplace as well. The fact the Doctor in that incarnation was quite ready to forget about Rose and Mickey abandoned on a spaceship and just go full tilt into a headlong relationship with Marie Antoinette, wasn't it? So there is that side of the Doctor that I think Russell T Davies does like to play with. In the third, with Jodie's 13th Doctor, we saw her relationship with Yaz develop over time, so perhaps felt less rushed, and in the end it kind of, it was resolved. Both people knew where they were at, but it wasn't carried through to a full-on snog or anything. Whereas in this one, it was a proper full-on snog. So it's the same but different as well. We're seeing different sides of the Doctor.
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah. Dennis Giltster says the best episode of the season, love the Doctor's and Rogue's on-screen chemistry, the use of pop music, the cosplaying bird aliens, and that ending was a punch to the gut. Catherine says loved it, bright and funny with a little bit of daftness and a dark undercurrent, and there's definitely something going on that the Doctor is picking up on beyond the repeated Susan Twist appearances, and she said, I had a feeling Rogue recognised 14. Marco says, loved the episode, it was fun. Rogue was a great character that I want to see again sometime. The way the Doctor said plenty of time to suffer showed a side of this Doctor that I don't think we've seen yet. I agree. And Rogue said they've got a 600-year lifespan, and he said that.
That's that kind of vengeful nature of the Doctor as well, which we saw with 10, which again I was never that comfortable with, to be fair.
Yeah, I always remember that bit where he 10 burns the Rachnos children, and Donna is shocked by it, and we also had a comment from Randy Elaine, who said, we're playing with some familiar RTD beats, but Shooty and Jonathan Groff were so charming, I don't mind. I'm not convinced that the sick TARDIS sound had anything to do with bounty hunters. We heard something similar in The Devil's Cord and also The Wedding of Sarah Jane Smith. So that was quite interesting. Have you seen talk about that? The TARDIS making noises like in Wild Blue Yonder and The Devil's Cord. It feels...
Actually... I'll have to watch it again to pick that one up.
Yeah, it's happened twice or three times now, but not kind of like a major. Like they don't make a big deal of it, which makes me think maybe it's playing up for for later. I was just trying to, maybe you can do this because it's not loading for me, but I was going to go to Facebook quickly and read out the comment that Didymus Holmes had left us.
Yes, I was just looking at that one here, actually. There's another one I'd just like to read as well very quickly, but let's go with Didymus. So Didymus Holmes has written, that one came along just when I needed it. While there have been things to enjoy about every recent episode, I haven't truly connected fully with a complete episode since Power of the Doctor. They've always had something, a weird plot decision, a wonky ending, an underdeveloped concept that's left me disappointed. I was starting to think that the new era just wasn't for me, and then along came Rogue with a fun premise, some proper Doctor Who style monsters, and both the Doctor and Ruby letting their hair down and having agency in the plot. The light-hearted digs at over-obsessive fandom inevitably crushing the things it loves with a kind of smart satire that the show used to do so well but had fumbled in recent episodes by being way too on the nose. The performances were light and fun without veering too far into high camp, and we got bonus Kylie Minogue for good measure. If I'm cynical about anything, then the romance angle felt rushed, and this was another one of those episodes that was probably way more expensive than it looked, employing lots of extras in getting the period details right, but ultimately taking place in a series of small rooms without any grand vistas and glossy action scenes. But hey, it stopped me giving up, and after 9 episodes of mild to enormous disappointment, I finally loved the beginning, the middle, and end of an episode, and reached the credits smiling. I'd love to see these writers return. Chris Chibnall knew that fresh blood is definitely what the show needs, and I hope Russell T Davies makes space for more writers to take the fewest spots available next year. Brilliant. Thank you, Didymus.
Thank you. That was a great.
I'm just going to read one last one as well from Keelan McManus, because I think this is a good one. Keelan writes, it was a lovely love story. There was a real chemistry between the Doctor and Rogue. 2 things absolutely gobsmacked me. The first was the inclusion of a new Doctor. Time for a Scream of the Schalke rewatch. I've seen some theories floating around that he could be the Valiant, but I'm taking those with a pinch of salt. The second thing that shocked me was the Doctor and Rogue's dancing scene, referencing directly how it would be problematic in that time period in a number of ways. It was very well done. Rogue has been touted as the one who waits online, but again, I'm unsure. As a side note, I'm very interested to see what happens with Susan Twist next week. I've seen some ideas floating about and have some of my own. But what are yours? I don't know if I have any, to be honest, but I'm intrigued to find out, that's for sure.
There's so many flying around that it's a bit much to take it all in. Right, we're actually going to have to go now, aren't we? Because we have to go and record another podcast for future release.
Yes, we have a special guest coming on.
We do, and if you're watching this episode on YouTube and wondering why our clothes and locations, well, mine, have changed halfway through, blame Sky and their Wi-Fi.
I wore the same clothes as well, so that we just pick it up and you've got a different background, location, everything.
Yeah,
so
I
didn't need to smell today, basically.
No, you didn't. Right, well, on that lovely note, we will catch you next time on Who Corners Corner. We'll be back next week for the Legend of Ruby Sunday. Looking forward to getting stuck into that and hopefully finding out some more of the mystery around
Hopefully
her.
It's going to be fun. And can I just say one final note on Rogue, because I've just got it written down here, that I thought it was absolutely lovely that it was dedicated to the memory of William Russell, who sadly passed away earlier this week.
Yes.
So I thought that was a really, really nice touch to one of the very first companions of Doctor Who, and somebody who really was instrumental in making the show what it is now today. And it was great to see him back in Power of the Doctor.
Yeah.
So our condolences to William's family, and but thank you for all the brilliant stuff you gave us in your time in the show.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, that was. I was
Until
glad
next
they managed
time.
to squeeze that in.
Yeah. Off we go. See you next time, listeners. Take care. All the very best.
Bye.